Hello, everyone. This is Misha Houston, and I'm here to do my review for the haves and the have nots. Tonight's episode is entitled The Enemy Called Trust. And I must say that I was very, very satisfied with this episode. I thought it was excellent. I enjoyed the confrontations, I enjoyed the ending, I enjoyed it all. I just thought it was really, really good, and I'm very pleased with this episode. I enjoyed it very, very much. So, thank you, Tyler Perry, for cleaning up a loose end that should have been tied up a long, long time ago. So, thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. The first group of people we go to is Catherine, Veronica, Jim, and David. Catherine and Veronica are watching the mansion burn down as Jim and David come running in. Jim is shocked and asks, "What happened? What are you doing?" And then Catherine says, "I'm watching the house burn down." Jim asks, Jim asks if she did this, and she confirms it, hoping that he was in there too. Veronica says that she told Kate to do it. Veronica then gets on Jim and David about someone driving Jennifer's body to the television station with the words "crier victim" on it. Jim asks, "How are we going to explain the house burning?" And Kate says very carefully. Jim thinks this is the dumbest move that Catherine has ever made. Veronica says that they have the DA's body in their possession. And if they have that body, then they have evidence and carpet fibers, blood spatter, DNA, etc. Jim says his usual "I had it handled." And Veronica retorts that you had it handled so well that the DA's body showed up at the television station. Jim calls for David, but David has nothing to say to Veronica. Veronica says that she will remember that slight and asks him, "Shall we talk about all that she remembers?" David tells her just to save it for divorce court. He doesn't really want to be bothered with Veronica. And who does? He says that he is prepared for divorce court and they will be getting a divorce. Veronica teases him, saying, "Oh, look at you, getting all bold. It was really hot. Not as hot as Benjamin Young, but it was good." Jim, tries to speak to Catherine, but she tells him to fuck off and walks away. He yells at her, saying, "What are we gonna do? How are we gonna figure this out? How are we gonna, explain this?" But she doesn't really answer him. David, pulls out his cell phone and calls the fire department. Actually, I mean, in my opinion, I thought it was a smart move for them to burn the house, because if that body gets traced back to the criers, the police won't have a house to investigate. So, as crude and horrible as it was, I thought it was very smart for them to burn up the house. The next group of people we go to is Charles, Landon, and the Secret Service, and also the police. At the Artesian Hotel, a group of policemen come out of Candace's room, saying that we must have just missed her, and we know that she'll be back soon. The police officers walk right past Charles and Landon and the Secret Service. Landon is going on about Charles's schedule, and they both go into Charles's hotel room with the Secret Service standing outside. Charles pours himself a drink and starts in on Landon for calling the police on Candace. Charles asks, "Why did you do that when I ordered you to help her?" Landon tries to offer up other women, but Charles only wants Candace. Landon asks why. Why is she so special? But then he gives him a cheap shot by going in on him being gay. Landon says, "You are going to be the president of the United States. Why are you involving yourself and dealing with this low level criminal?" And Charles says that she and him are both low level criminals, and we're really not that different from each other. Landon doesn't believe it, but it is true. Charles asks one more time, "Help her." Landon tries to say something, in the alternative, but Charles stops him, steps forward and gets in his face and stops him. And Landon eventually leaves. Vincent then comes into the room talking about the police and how they were looking for a young lady that was living in the hotel room next to his. Charles asked, "What did you tell them?" And Vincent said that he lied to the police, saying that he will let them know when she comes back. Vincent asked Charles, "Would you like to see her when she returns?" And Charles says, "Maybe." I really think it's funny that Candace is living right next to Charles, because if this were the true Secret Service, the whole floor would be cleared. No one would be living next to Charles. The next person we go to is Candace. She's alone in this scene, and she's made it to the Fountain Drop Hotel, and she's horrified by what she sees in the room. The room is a mess. The room is an absolute mess. There are bullet holes everywhere. Furniture is upturned, and she's shocked. She's horrified by what she sees. She's crying, and she's completely hurt and disgusted by what she sees, and she's crying and sobbing. And I mean, I couldn't even make out what she was saying, but you can really tell that she was really, really hurt and heartbroken over Quincy's death. The next group of people we go to is the DA, the new DA George, Detective Brent, Justin, and Justin's partner. DA George and Detective Brent are walking through the police station. DA George tells Brent that he's going over to Wyatt's apartment for information on DA Salinson's death and wants him to join in with him. Justin then goes to Detective Brent and manipulates him into taking him with him. See, Detective Brent thinks, he just wants to go so he can learn how to be a detective. But the truth is, Justin only wants to go over there to Wyatt's apartment, hoping that, Jeffrey would be there. It was a complete manipulation on his part. And he just wants to be as close to Jeffrey as he possibly can. You can really tell that he's off. Justin is off, and he is missing Jeffrey like crazy. Justin then, he asked Brent if he could tag along, and Brent says yes. And as Justin leaves, you can see Justin's partner looking on, with a worried and concerned look on his face. Justin's partner knows what's going on, and it's just a weird vibe. That whole scene was very strange and very weird. The next group of people we go to is Landon, Jeffrey, Veronica, and Candace. At the Artesian Hotel, Jeffrey runs into Landon, and Landon asks, "Who was that guy?" Jeffrey apologizes and says that he's just a friend. Landon then questions Jeffrey about Justin. Did you know that he would be in the room? And Jeffrey says no, he has been showing up. He's just been showing up out of nowhere. Landon then asks, "Is he stalking you?" And Jeffrey says no, he's just crazy about me. But Landon thinks that he's just crazy altogether. Landon then asks if he is a straight man, and Jeffrey says yes. Landon, then warns him of how dangerous this situation is. He says that Justin has problems. He has emotional problems. He just shows up places, yet he claims he's straight. But he says that Jeffrey is the object of his affections. Landon tells him if he's up there, don't go in the room with him. Jeffrey says he won't be because Veronica made sure that, Justin can't follow Jeffrey. Landon wants to know what that witch is doing now. And just then, the witch, flies in on her broom. Landon says, just, you know, Landon says Jeffrey needs to get a restraining order against her. And Jeffrey says that he has one, but it's not working. Veronica says that she's sick of Jeffrey with these girls. Jeffrey says that maybe if you're sick of this, then you need to stop popping up. Veronica says Veronica wants Jeffrey to come back to her house, but Jeffrey refuses. Then Veronica addresses Landon saying, "Don't you have to check your lipstick?" And then Landon replies, "It couldn't be any worse than your foundation." After Landon leaves, Jeffrey says he is not coming home. Veronica says that she has worked too hard on Melissa and that baby. Then she tries to browbeat Jeffrey by mentioning Quincy's murder case, but Jeffrey still refuses. Jeff then brings up Melissa's suicide attempt, hoping to induce some sort of guilt on Veronica's part, but she is not bothered by it. She wants Jeffrey to come back to her house so he can watch Melissa, so she doesn't bleed all over her good, thread count sheets. Jeffrey is stunned that she only cares about her sheets, but Veronica thinks that this is no more than a play for attention. Jeffrey thinks that this is serious, that she is completely depressed and she's suicidal. But Veronica, you know, teases Jeffrey, saying that, "Oh, you sure know how to pick them," as if he chose that girl for himself. No, Veronica, this is all Veronica's doing. Jeffrey wants her to stop this, but Veronica refuses, saying that she's carrying my grandchild and I will never stop. Veronica expects Jeffrey to pick Melissa up from the hospital and take her back to the house. Just then, Candace walks by and doesn't speak. Jeffrey tells Veronica that her son was killed, and Veronica, could care less. Veronica says, "My son may want to die as well." I'm thinking that she meant that as a threat. And she orders him to go to Melissa and bring her back to the house and to stay away from those boys. Jeffrey then goes to Candace and asks her if she is okay, but Candace doesn't answer and she just gets into the elevator. It must kill Veronica to see that those boys are getting something that she will never have. I think she's completely obsessed and in love with her own son. That's what I think. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I can't believe after all of this time she's still stressing and obsessing about him being gay. I mean, get over it, Veronica. Just get over it. The next group of people we go to is Wyatt, Anna, D.A. George, Justin, and Detective Hines. D.A. George and Detective Hines and Justin are at Wyatt's apartment. Anna introduces herself, and Justin, from behind Wyatt's back, ask him if this is his girlfriend. Wyatt is looking at him like, what? I mean, what is he doing here? Looking at him like, what the hell are you doing here? And Anna says that, no, we are not together. Wyatt asks if Justin needs to be there, and then he just thinks better of it and says, never mind. The DA George wants to ask him about the relationship he had with D.A. Salison. And Wyatt says that she offered him immunity for Lizzie Castile. Wyatt wants to know, will the DA and the rest of the police department honor the deal? And he says yes, for him and for Jeffrey. DA George wants to talk about DA Salison's murder. Wyatt knows nothing about this, which is true, and is completely shocked that she was murdered, and completely shocked that she was murdered and shot 8 times. George says that she was found wrapped in plastic with the words "murdered by a crier" written on the plastic wrap. Wyatt thinks that this is a joke, but it is true. George asks about her relationship, D.A. Salison's relationship with Jim and Catherine Crier, his parents. Wyatt says that they were enemies, and Jim and Catherine hated her. Wyatt tells them that D.A. Salison released his inheritance to him, and that must have set them off. George asks how much was the inheritance, and Wyatt says it was $12 million. George asks how much money do the Criers have, and Wyatt says that Catherine is worth $250 million, and Jim is, not, he's not much worth. He's a judge, and he's not a millionaire, and he's not worth much without her. Wyatt wants them to go to jail, which shocks him, which shocks the DA. And then Wyatt says that they need to go to jail because they're not good people. DA George wants him to continue, but Wyatt wants Justin, out of his apartment. Justin, feigns ignorance, like he wasn't there clowning and acting a fool not too long ago. He feigns ignorance, but since Justin is hovering over Wyatt and staring at him and mistreating Jeffrey, Wyatt just wants him to get out of his apartment. D.A. George tells Justin to leave and wait outside, which he does. After Justin leaves, D.A. George wants to know everything about the Criers, and Wyatt is more than happy to tell him. I mean, yeah, Wyatt, wants to get rid of Jim and Catherine. He wants them out of his life, and this is the perfect opportunity for him to, send them up the river. And seeing as they had him raped and put in prison, I can't really blame Wyatt for that. Jim and Catherine need to get out of his life, in order for him to, fully heal. The next group of people we go to is Candace, Charles, and the Secret Service. Candace pounds on the door for Charles, pounds on Charles's door as the Secret Service holds her back. Charles eventually answers the door, and Candace wants her phones back. Then she calls Benny and leaves him a message. Charles apologizes and asks if she is okay. She says no. She says, "No, I'm not okay," and asks him what happened. And she also asks him if he was responsible for this. And he says, "Of course I wasn't." No, of course he wasn't. All he knows is that her son was caught in a crossfire. He also offers to find out any information that he can. Charles has really taken a liking to Candace, and seeing that her son has been killed, he's gonna, yield toward her even more. And I said in one of my previous haves and have nots videos that maybe she shouldn't really trust in Charles. But I'm starting to think that maybe the offer that he made her would be the best thing for Candace. I think that it would be the best thing for her to, get out of town and go to Washington with him and let him pay for her education. I think it's the best thing for her. She needs to get out of town because there's really nothing there left for her, in my opinion. The next group of people we go to is Candace, Erica, Warlock, Hannah, Mitch, and Tony. Candace calls Erica, tells her to come to the hotel room, and she gives Erica the hotel room number. Right after that, Erica agrees to come. Then she calls Warlock and gives Warlock the hotel room number. So Erica is still very much acting against Candace. Warlock says he's on his way and then he hangs up. Erica says she will try to keep her there as long as possible, but she asks him to hurry. Then Candace calls Hannah, wanting to know if it is true, and Hannah confirms it. Candace asks what happened, and Hannah says Warwick burst into the room looking for her. Mitch and Benny got into it with them, and then Warwick and his people started shooting. Candace asks, where was Quincy, where was Quincy shot? And Hannah says that he was shot in the bathroom. Candace asks, why didn't you protect him? And why was he in the bathroom? And Hannah says that I was trying to protect him. I was on top of Quincy in the bathroom trying to hide, from them. Candace, says that if you were truly protecting him, then you would have been shot. Hannah, is hurt by that and saying that I ran, I took him into the bathroom to protect him as best as she could. Candace asks, did you get shot? And Hannah says, no, I didn't get shot. And then she asks, why didn't you get shot? And Hannah says she doesn't know. Candace accuses Hannah of lying to her and says that you didn't protect my son like you said you would, and that you should be dead instead of him. After she hangs up, then she calls Mitch, and Mitch knows knows that she knows what's been happened, and he says that he's sorry. Neither of them can believe it, but it is obviously true. Mitch confirms everything that Hannah said, that it was Warlock who barged in and he shot up the place, and that it was him who killed Quincy. Mitch asks her what she wants to do about it, and Candace says, I want him dead. He agrees to that, and then he says that he has a restaurant owned by his grandmother called Rosa Malone. And just to get him, if you want him gone, just get him to the restaurant. That's all you have to do. Mitch, after he hangs up with Candace, Mitch calls Tony, a Malone henchman, and tells him that we are going to bring Warlock to the new restaurant. Tony is glad that Mitchell is, finally starting to join the family business. He says that everyone will be ready and that he's telling Mama Rose right now. So Candace, has put a plan in place, and she, is deciding to take revenge against Warlock. And it's about time. It is about time. This should have happened seasons ago. The next group of people we go to is Candace, Erica, Warlock, and David. Candace lets Erica into her hotel room and then they sit down with each other. Candace asks her, are you with me? And Erica lies to her and says, yes, I am. Candace asks her another question. She asks, why did your dress smell like Warlock's cologne? Erica lies again and says that she has no idea. Candace knows that Erica doesn't deal with that level of thug, so she asks, where did you get that fragrance? Erica lies a third time and says that she doesn't know what you're talking about and that she's scared to death of Warlock. Candace asks her one more time, are you with me? And Erica says, yes. And why are you asking me all these questions? Candace confesses to Erica that Warlock killed her son. She feigns shock and ignorance and says that she's sorry, for this bad news. And she asks why. Why did he shoot at her son? Then Candace pulls out her cell phone and calls up Warlock. He says that he's been looking for her. And he also, tells her, I know you lied about the amount of money. He says that it was true that you got $7.4 million from Jim Cryer. And Candace says, yes, it is true. Warlock, tells her, declares that she needs to die for that. And Candace, just says, yeah, whatever. Warlock asks her, where is she? And then Candace says that I'm at the Artesian Hotel in room 3031. But you know that already, don't you? Sensing the fact that Erica sold her out to Warlock. Warlock orders her not to move, but she says that she is. She's moving and she's leaving. Warlock asks, oh, you won't wait for me? And she says, no, I'm not waiting for you. Then she tells him that you killed my son, and Warlock says that it was just an accident. Candace says, okay, and she's on the move. Then Candace orders Erica to hand over her cell phone. Then the phone rings in Candace's hand, and she tells Erica to answer it with the speakerphone. Much to Erica's relief, it is David apologizing to Erica. He won't be stopping by tonight. Erica says that she's on the line with a friend, that her friend has trust issues and doubt is creeping in. She says that her friend is about to ruin the best thing that she has in her life over her lack of trust. David says, then I will leave you with your friend and I'll call you later on. After he hangs up, Erica says that, she lies again and says that, I'm your girl and that I always have been. Even, Erica even goes so far as to say that she loves Candace, but Candace isn't fooled by it and says, don't touch me. After all of that, Candace tells Erica to pass her purse, which Erica does, and they both leave for the restaurant. When they get to the restaurant, Erica and Candace, are waiting for their table. Erica notices how expensive everything is, and Candace says she's got it. Erica asks if Candace is okay, and then excuses herself to the ladies' room. Erica obviously doesn't know that there's a plan in place, and she thinks she's fooling Candace, which she really is not. After Erica leaves, Mitch comes up and hugs Candace and compliments her on her good looks. Then he warns her, when this goes down, you gotta lay low. You gotta lay down on the floor. His guys know what they're doing, and they will take care of it. Mitch asks if Warlock is on his way, and Candace says that Erica is most likely calling Warlock to this restaurant right now. Mitch says, oh, I knew you couldn't trust that girl. I mean, Erica really isn't fooling anyone anymore. Everybody can see through it. Mitch, tells her one more time to lay low and that he'll be looking out for her. Candace says, just kill that asshole. And Mitch says, it will be done. He walks her over to the table and she sits down. So at this point it's really about to jump off, and as I was watching this, I was so excited to see this. I was on the edge of my seat hoping this would turn out well for Candace and Mitch and the rest of the Malone family. The next group of people we go to is Benny, the police officer, and Hannah. It's a short scene with Benny. The officer comes into the interrogation room and tells Benny that he can leave. He gives Benny back, his phone, and then Benny leaves the interrogation room and he leaves the police station. Outside of the police station, he calls for Hannah to come pick him up, and she says that she will come and pick him up in a few minutes. Now, the last scene of the night is for Charles, the governor of Savannah, the governor of Georgia, Candace, Erica, Warlock and his crew, Hannah, Mitch, and the rest of the Malone family. Charles, he's doing his, I guess, his press conference and his campaign tour, and the governor is introducing him. And after he is introduced, Charles stands up on the podium and he makes his campaign speech. The thing about his speech that stands out to me is that he said on camera that he knew a few members of the Young family. Yeah, he said he knew a few members of the Young family personally. Now, I don't know if Hannah, who is watching this, caught that, but he said it that he knew members of the family. As for what's going on, Warlock, then comes into the Rosa Malone and he sits down at the table. As they are sitting there, Candace is looking at him, glaring at him, and she's flashing back to all of the abuse that she suffered because of Warlock. The threats, the beatings, the rapes, and the intimidation, and the death of her son. All of a sudden, Warlock's men come into the room behind him, and bullets start to fly. Tony, the henchman that Mitch was talking to not too long ago, pulls out two guns and shoots Warlock in his chest. And then Warlock falls to the floor. Before Warlock could do anything, he's shot in his chest. The Malones and Warlock's crew are shooting at each other, shooting up the place. People are screaming. Everybody's worried. Everybody's ducking onto the floor. Shots are ringing out. And it ends as all of Warlock's boys are shot down and killed. Then we move back to Charles, who asked for a moment of silence. Then we move back to the restaurant, then, where Mitch, who had jumped on top of Candace to protect her on the floor, helps her up, and they both look over to see that Warlock has two bullets in his chest. He's died. He was shot down and he was killed with two shots to his chest. Erica managed to hide up under the table and survive the shootout. So Erica is very much still alive. After the moment of silence, Hannah is looking at Charles on the television screen, saying, and he's saying that he knows that the family, which is her family, would appreciate that. As I said before, I don't know if Hannah, put it all together. Charles just said that he knew members of the family. He obviously doesn't know Hannah, and Charles obviously doesn't know Mitch. He must know Candace. And if he knows Candace, it would explain why the Secret Service was all over Benny, why he was arrested, and all that time spent in the interrogation room. I don't know if she put it all together, but she certainly heard him say the words. But after, he finishes making his speech, Hannah turns off the television and she goes to pick Benny up. And that is where the story ends. As I said before, I thought it was a wonderful episode. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every second of it. Sometimes I feel like I should be, fast forwarding through a part, but I could watch the whole episode from beginning to end and I would have enjoyed it. Come back next week for my next video. The next episode will be entitled Kate. Kate, and for Catherine. So Catherine is obviously going to be a big factor in this next episode. Thank you very much for watching my video. If you like my video, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will be back next week for the next episode of The Haves and the Have-Nots. Enjoy your life, everyone, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much.